if PRP may be right for you too.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hey, it's Joe C., and we want to see who can challenge me and the XL Primetime Gang for the Sonny's Barbecue Rib Eating Contest, live right here at the 1010XL Studios. Text the word RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter in Rib Mania for America as we gear up for America's birthday. Contest will be live on air June 27th, and you can be part of all the action. Thanks to Sonny's Barbecue for providing the ribs. We just need you to see if you can beat us. Text RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update brought to you by Monahan Jewelers. I'm E.T. Jaguars president Mark Lamping joined the Frangie Show recently, where he explained some of the pros and cons to a 4-year renovation.
The alternative to that is do it over 4 years. So you start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. And there's really the positive of that is the Jaguar games will be played. The negative to that is it's going to cost you about another $190 million. And your experience for the Jaguar games over those 4 seasons will be in a stadium that's under construction.
Lots of good information in that interview. To hear it in full, simply head over to 1010XL.com and click on the on-demand section. Currently, it's 1800 and it's 74 degrees. Your time and your tip is brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller. Stay tuned because Hacker After Dark is next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The sports world keeps spinning and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, an early edition in for Rick Ballou, a vacationing Rick Ballou with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are spending part of your Thursday evening with us. A day after the Florida Gators find out they will play one of the toughest college football schedules maybe ever, right? That question was actually being asked today by some people on ESPN and the SEC Network. We'll certainly get into that. The Jaguar offseason program officially over as well. I want to look back on the last 4 months, from January the 21st to when the season ended at Arrowhead in the AFC Divisional Playoff to where we are now, June the 15th. There is a lot that has transpired, some good, some bad. We will certainly look back on the offseason that was. We'll round out our NFC North preview as well. We've already been to Detroit. We've been to Green Bay. We've been to Minneapolis. Tonight we'll end in Chicago. Talk a little Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. We'll do that with Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. He comes up within the hour, coming up in about 20 minutes. My friend Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, as we'll look at the Jaguars and the rest of the AFC South. But I want to begin with the Florida Gators. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do give you a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so the 2024 schedule came out one night ago. 2024, the first year that Texas and Oklahoma are in the Southeastern Conference. You know, and for so long, Florida, it was a rite of passage, right? Whether it was the Citadel, East Tennessee, Ball State, you name it, right? Charleston Southern. Florida would play 2 cupcakes leading into the SEC schedule. And, people, some just up in arms, need tougher competition, right? We don't want to play cupcakes anymore. To be the best, you got to beat the best. I want to play hard teams. You prove yourself against the hard teams. All right. I have never disputed that. Never once have I disputed that. What I always said was Florida, or really any team in the SEC, but obviously we're in Jacksonville, so I'll talk about Florida. Florida did not have to do that. When you play a Southeastern Conference schedule, when you play Georgia and LSU and Tennessee and all these teams every year, you could play Wolfson High School in the out-of-conference. And if you go undefeated, you're going to be in the college football playoff. Oh, but that's no fun, right? We want to play the best. Okay. So now you're playing the best. And in 2024, Florida has 11 games against Power 5 teams. Think about that for a second. 11 games against Power 5 teams. Florida State's on the schedule. Miami is on the schedule. UCF is on the schedule. Texas comes on, being in the conference now. Georgia remains on the schedule. LSU remains on the schedule. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Kentucky. I mean, there was legitimate conversation today. Is the Florida Gator 2024 schedule the hardest in college football history? 11 games against Power 5 teams. And you even look this year, right? Going to Utah. Oh, that's a fun game. That's better than playing, whomever. Georgia State. Is it? Is it better than playing Georgia State? The lead-up will be better. But if Florida loses that game by 2 touchdowns, starts the year 0-1, what does that prove? What does that accomplish? I've never understood the narrative, particularly when it comes to the Southeastern Conference, because as you know, it just means more. Why they should feel obligated to play 2 or 3 really hard non-conference games. The conference is hard enough. If they don't get to play, name your ACC team, Boston College, right? They don't get to play Syracuse or Wake Forest. They don't get to play Duke. They don't get to play Georgia Tech. Well, you can say, well, Vanderbilt and Missouri. Oh, okay, yeah. Where would Missouri rank right now in the ACC? The ACC's awful. Missouri would be among the top 8 or 9 teams in the ACC right now. I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb. But for whatever reason, this came from Gator fans. This came from Gator media. I was in the minority here. Well, they don't want to play those quote-unquote cupcake games. What do we always refer to them as? Sisters of the Poor games, directional school U. You don't want to do that. Well, all right. So now you're not doing that anymore. Now you're playing Miami, Florida State, and Central Florida, 3 Power 5 teams in 2024, along with an 8-game SEC conference schedule. And here's my thought. The same people that said we don't want to play the cupcakes anymore will be the same people bellyaching, complaining, and calling for jobs when it doesn't go well for the Gators in 2024. There's just no reason to play 11 Power 5 games. None. What does that accomplish? I mean, if you win all of them, okay. But you know what? If you win all the games anyway against directional U and the SEC teams you play, you'd be in the same spot in the college football playoff. Admittedly, it's the perfect storm right now, too. Because Florida's roster's not very good. They got serious questions at quarterback coming into 2023. And heck, 2024, they're probably starting a freshman in DJ Lagway or potentially Austin Simmons. I don't know, Gator fans, if you saw this, your 4-star 2025 quarterback commitment has reclassified to 2023. We'll get more into that later on. But you wanted this. A majority of Gator fans wanted this. And I don't care if your Florida State neighbor was giving you grief about the schedule or your Miami neighbor was giving you grief around the schedule. You know why they gave you grief? Because they knew it got under your skin. And B, they don't have to play the conference schedule that you have to play. If I'm an SEC homer, so be it. There's not one person that can have an argument to me right now that the ACC is in the same atmosphere as the SEC. Look no further than the 7 ACC teams that want to get out of that conference, including Florida State and Miami, that want to get out of there. Why do they want to get out of there? Well, they're not making any money. Why are they not making any money? Because the conference isn't very good. They can't get a good TV deal. Why can they not get a good TV deal? Because nobody wants to watch that. Your Florida State and Miami brethren that have given you grief for years about Florida's non-conference schedule, their own schools are trying to get out of the ACC. So now we swing it back to what happened last night. Well, you know what? You're not playing the Citadel anymore. You're not playing Ball State anymore. You're not playing Charleston Southern anymore. No. You get to play Utah this year in Salt Lake City on a Thursday night to open the year. How's that going to go? And then next year you get to open the year with Miami, work in a UCF there, Florida State obviously, and 8 additional SEC games. If you're a fan that likes that, I'm not faulting you. I'm just simply saying Florida doesn't need to do it. They've almost caved to the pressure. What have we always heard? Well, Florida hasn't played a game west of the Mississippi. Who cares? Was that a talking point in 1996 when the Gators were winning the national championship? Was that a talking point when Urban Meyer and the spread won 2 titles in a 3-year stretch? No. Who cares? What does that have to do with anything? If you beat Florida State, you beat Georgia, you beat Tennessee, you win the SEC championship game, I don't care who else you play. You have earned that playoff opportunity, that national title. Now you're just adding more gasoline to the fire. Your schedule's already hard enough, and you're just adding Power 5 team after Power 5 team after Power 5 team. And for what? So the buildup can be better? Okay, great. And then you lose those games. You're eliminated from playoff contention before the second week in September, and then you'll be the same people that are belly aching and complaining about it. I've just never understood it. Oh, I'm ducking competition. I'm not ducking competition. I'm being real. There's no need to do it. Florida State can play better out-of-conference competition because their conference sucks. Florida doesn't have to do it, but they're choosing to do it. And I got a feeling it's going to cost them. I think it's going to cost them on Labor Day weekend this year at Utah, and I think it's going to cost them next year. Are they going to run the table, beat Miami, UCF, and Florida State next year? I'm not even bringing up the Texas or Georgia or LSU or Texas A&M or Ole Miss games. I'm talking about the 3 non-conference, the state round robin, Miami, UCF, and Florida State. I would bet good money right now Florida doesn't win all 3 of those games. Heck, I'm not sure if they win 2 of those games. To me, Florida and a lot of SEC schools have kind of caved in that regard. They're scheduling more Power 5 games because they were getting grief about playing directional U. By the way, playing directional U is not necessarily a bad thing either. Those schools need those games, need those paychecks. It helps their program. Florida gets a home game. Charleston Southern gets $700,000 to help their football program. Florida gets a win. Charleston Southern gets money to improve themselves. I had a buddy that played at Charleston Southern. That was a big deal for them when they played Florida, what was it, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, when today, Dan Orlovsky was one of them. There were a couple other ones on ESPN, the SEC network. When there was legit conversation, is the 2024 Florida Gator football schedule the hardest in the history of college football? That is a scheduling problem. To be in that debate, you should not be in that debate. People should not be arguing, is it the hardest schedule in the history of college football? That is insanity that Florida has put themselves in this position. Insanity. And hey, the bed's made now. They're going to lie in it. You're late in the process. I don't think they can get out any of these games. Maybe they're not even going to try to get out any of these games. But Billy Napier went 6-7 last year, right? What's Billy Napier going to go this year? Is he going to go 7-5? Is that going to be good enough for Gator fan? Is 8-4 going to be good enough for Gator fan? It better be. You're not going to go better than 8-4. And then you look at that 2024 schedule that was released last night. What's realistic there? 7-5 again, 8-4 again? At 6-6, 8-4, 8-4, does Napier keep his job after 3 years? I don't know. I mean, Denmark, you're a Gator alum. If Billy Napier goes 6-6, 7-5, 7-5, is he the head coach in 2025?
No shot.
And that's not Billy Napier's fault. That's, again, the Gators, the SEC kind of caving to pressure to play tougher out-of-conference games when there's no need to do it. And there's really no need to do it now with a 12-team playoff. Is it better for the sport for Florida to play Utah? Sure. I'm not going to argue that. Florida and Utah, we're going to talk about it a lot more than we would Florida and Southeast Louisiana. Is it more fun to get with your buddies at a sports bar and get ready for Florida, Miami instead of Florida and the Citadel? Yeah, that's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's an unnecessary situation that the Gators have put themselves in. And they're not the only ones. A lot of SEC teams are doing this now. A lot of them have caved to the pressure to play tougher competition. But for Florida to have 11 Power 5 games next year, 11, that is crazy to me that they have a schedule that's that hard and that's legit being asked, is it the hardest schedule in the history of college football? I'm not asking that. Dan Orlovsky and guys on ESPN are asking that, which goes to show you what they think about the Gator 2024 football schedule. More on that. I'm sure the text line, I'll read some of the reaction. I'm sure it's wonderful from Florida State and Miami fan. And Gator fan, you tell me, does anybody actually agree with me? I've always been in the minority on this. Matt Hayes and I had some knockdown dragouts over this thing. And again, I don't necessarily disagree with what the points he was making back in the day, that it's better for the game, it prove yourself against the best. That's all fine and well. And, you know, you can play the harmonica and roast marshmallows out by the fire and live in harmony, and that's great. The bottom line is they don't need to do it. And they're doing it, and it's probably going to cost them. And you know what? It might cost Billy Napier his job. It legit might cost Billy Napier his job. If year 3 was the year to turn it around and you got that schedule, that is a real, real problem if Billy Napier enters 2024 in a hot seat and you got to navigate that. 11 games against Power 5 competition. Again, more on the Gators coming up, more in college football coming up, but the Jaguars ended their offseason this week. Minicamp in the books, OTAs in the books. Let's look back on the offseason that was. Look ahead to the training camp that will be. We'll open up the phone lines as well at 641-1010. Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. He is set to join us here in less than 15 minutes. It is a Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL. Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Nice shot. Did you know the 2023 Honda CR-V Hybrid never needs to be plugged in? The onboard system charges the batteries for you. When you think Honda, think hybrid. Good for the environment, great for your budget. Visit your local Honda dealer to experience the CR-V of the future today.
It's time to fire up the grill. Houston's Meat Specials of the Week. 10 pounds of fresh jumbo chicken wings, only $12.95. 2-pack pork spare ribs, only $1.99 a pound. And whole T-bone steaks at $5.95 a pound. Only at Houston's Meats, Main Street and 295.
The 9 after 5 rolls on at the Golf Club of Southampton, so get on the tee with me, Joe C. The XL Primetime League is in the summer stretch, and you need to be part of it. Southampton invites you to join us every Wednesday for our 9 after 5. Beat the heat and blow off a little steam with friends and family at Southampton. A great game every week, good grub afterwards, and prizes. Call 287-PLAY and get in the game every Wednesday. It's our 9 after 5 at Southampton. Call 287-PLAY.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
This Father's Day, tell your dad you're a fan with gift ideas from Woody's Barbecue, Woodcraft of Jacksonville, and Tank America.
That's awesome.
Gift ideas for Father's Day are a click away at 1010XL.com.
Want great drinks at a great location without paying outrageous prices? Players Grill has you covered. Monday through Friday, happy hour from 3 to 5 p.m. $15 bottomless mimosas on the weekend. Players Grill Miramar, where the neighborhood meets.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, it's Prosser here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? Does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound about right now? Well, Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loans, consolidate all your payments into one check per month, and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now to see what your options are. Call Loan Pronto at 999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
This is Hayes Carline for QC Kinetics. Remember when you were going to get that pain fixed this year? Well, the year is almost halfway over. If you're still dealing with that pain, enough is enough. Pills are not the answer. Surgery is not the answer. You need to call QC Kinetics today at 904-274-5522. Set up a free consultation in Mandarin or Ponte Vedra. The advanced regenerative medicine solutions at QC Kinetics can give you a life without chronic joint pain. You can do all those summer activities you love. How do they do it? By taking healing properties from your own body and applying them right into your achy joint. Your tissue can be repaired and restored naturally. You can have life-changing results without drugs, surgery, or downtime. If you have pain in your knees, back, shoulders, hips, enough is enough. Call QC Kinetics now, 904-274-5522. That's 274-5522.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas Method. Now, I know you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best-kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas Method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
Pickett here. After work's done for the day, I know you like to find your favorite sofa or recliner and watch the game. Well, me too. It helps all of us wind down for the day. But I bet you don't clean that upholstery too much, do you? That's why you got to call my friends at Zero Res this month. All upholstery, 25% off the sofa, 25% off the love seat, 25% off the sectional, and of course, 25% off your favorite recliner. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimates.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
All right, I want to read a couple of these texts on the text line. We're going to get to Steve Palazzolo, PFF.com, talking Jags, AFC South in one moment. Talking about Florida's ridiculous schedule in 2024. The fact that they have 3 Power 5 games along with their 8 SEC games for 11 Power 5 opponents. I don't know why you would do that to yourself. All right, so the 477. To be the best, you got to beat the best. Well, Florida's not the best right now. They're not in the same atmosphere as the best. The 343. Miami and UCF aren't good. Well, what's Florida? Florida's a team that lost to Vanderbilt last year and went 6-7. Gator fans, I think you have some weird thoughts in La La Land that Florida's actually a good football team right now. They're not. And by the way, the last time they played UCF boat raced them in a bowl game. The 813, have you ever heard the term iron sharpens iron? Well, Florida's not iron right now. What part of iron loses to Vanderbilt in Nashville and goes 6-7?
Plastic.
Is that iron? Again, Florida fans, you're delusional. You're thinking this is 2007, 2008, 2009. Your 12 games that you're going to play in 2023, this year, you're going to be an underdog at 8 of those games. You know that, right? An underdog in 8 of those games. And in 2024, you're going to be an underdog in at least 8 of those games. I just don't know why, with an SEC schedule as tough as that is, you would schedule games against 3 Power 5 teams. And I love the guy that called Denmark and said, well, I'm ripping the ACC, but I'm afraid of Florida State and Miami. I'm not afraid of Florida State and Miami. Although Florida State obviously looks a lot better on paper than Florida right now. It's the point that the Gators and a lot of other SEC teams, mind you, are doing things that they don't have to do. You don't have to schedule that amount of talent in the non-conference. Your conference is far and away better than any other conference in football. How about this? How about schedule a game against Duke? Or how about scheduling a game against Boston College? I would feel better playing Boston College than I would UCF. I would feel better playing Georgia Tech than I would UCF. I would feel better about playing, heck, at this rate, Virginia or Virginia Tech than I would UCF. Anyway, more on that coming up. Let's get into the Jaguars. Steve Palazzolo, PFF.com. Let's recap the Jags offseason. Let's look at the AFC South and more. Steve is one of my guys at PFF, and here he is now on Hacker After Dark. Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Jaguar offseason program in the rearview mirror. Minicamp is over. OTAs are over. The Jaguars will report back on July the 21st, and training camp practice will begin on July the 26th. Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. You guys know I love PFF.com. Steve's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Steve, how we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Steve, always appreciate the time, man. All right, you and I spoke right after the Super Bowl, so a lot obviously has transpired. Before we really dive in, just in totality, Steve, when you look at the Jaguars offseason as a whole, what were your thoughts on what the Jaguars did?
I thought they had a solid offseason. I thought that, the draft was fine. There weren't a ton of splash moves a year after they made a lot of splash moves in free agency. I think it showed that what they did a year ago, spending money on guys like Christian Kirk and filling a ton of holes across the roster, has set them up for this year and perhaps next year as well. So I thought it was a solid offseason. I thought the draft was good, just accumulating extra picks and working the board and adding some good players that are going to contribute and compete right away. So solid offseason for the Jags, I would say.
Clearly the biggest move, Steve, the Jaguars made came at the trade deadline last year, getting Calvin Ridley. He got reinstated, in late February, early March. He's been part of the entire offseason program. When you add Calvin Ridley, Steve, to a room with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, throw Evan Ingram in there at some point when he comes in on the franchise tag, what do you make of this Jaguar passing attack in 2023?
Yeah, I really think Ridley is obviously the biggest addition here. Missing all of last season, I don't think we'll see too much rust or anything. But so at his best, Calvin Ridley, very good route runner, just knows how to get open, can win on the outside. And there was a point where the Falcons were trying to. He was really the number 2 to Julio Jones in his first couple seasons. They were trying to make him more of a number 1. And I think he has that ability, that 1A type of ability. But I think his route running and ability to win on the outside does really complement what Christian Kirk brings to the table, or what Evan Ingram brings to the table as a mismatch type of tight end, and Zay Jones. So I really love the depth that the Jags have at receiver. And when you add Ridley to the mix, he easily could be the best receiver. Maybe it'll take a little bit of time to get going, but between Ridley and between Christian Kirk, they have what they need. Guys who can get open and just, create big plays for Trevor Lawrence. Steve
Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus here with us. Press Taylor, the Jaguar offensive coordinator, addressed this question earlier this week. I mean, it's a fantasy football team's worst nightmare, but in real life, it's a great thing to have. I mean, Steve, some Sundays could be Evan Ingram Sundays. Some Sundays could be Zay Jones Sundays. Then you'll have your Calvin Ridley games. You'll obviously have Christian Kirk games. I mean, if you're a defensive coordinator, who are you trying to shut down? Because it appears the Jaguars may not have that quote-unquote wide receiver 1, but they might have wide receiver 2, 2A, 2B, and 2C.
Well, yeah, that's the key to winning in the NFL because, yeah, the goal isn't necessarily to have one guy with 130 catches, but the goal is to put points on the board and to keep defenses off balance. And we've seen teams that just have a number 1 and don't have anything else, and the number 1 is great. But if that guy gets taken away, they don't necessarily have those other options. The key is to have those options. You know, the tactical ability every single week to say, hey, they're taking one guy away. We have the option to throw to the middle of the field or throw outside to someone else or mix it up or whatever it might be. That is huge. And then just the depth, right? If there are injuries, having that depth is also key. So I think strategically, from a team building standpoint, having multiple options is important. But then tactically, week to week, the important part is definitely that, like making sure the defenses don't have somebody to key on. And I think the Jags are looking really good in that department this year.
This is the first time, Steve, in 4 years where Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator. He finally gets to work with the same guys 2 years in a row since, I guess, his junior and senior year or his sophomore and junior year at Clemson. I mean, that's a long time. How valuable will it be to have Doug Peterson and Press Taylor back with him for a second year?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, we saw the second half progression with Trevor Lawrence, and it's interesting because from a data standpoint, you don't always overrate half seasons. You know, anything can happen in an 8 or 9 game stretch. But I think with Trevor Lawrence, it just, you know, his really turning things around. I would say back in Week 9 during that Raiders game, making the fourth quarter comeback and really coming into his own at a time when he wasn't doing that a ton. He wasn't making huge plays like we thought he could. There was a switch that seemed to flip right around midseason last year, and that just coincides with his talents, right? I mean, I'm buying into the Trevor Lawrence turning it around because we always knew he could be an excellent decision maker, accurate, with the ability to make big-time throws and take care of the football. I think we finally saw that, and I'm buying into that being what Trevor Lawrence is going forward. So I think the consistency is huge. And, you know, we always knew that Trevor Lawrence had that number 1 overall talent. And once he started to show it, I think that he started to show it when that comfort level was really through the roof right around midseason last year. So I'm expecting all that to continue.
Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. Steve, the offensive line here in Jacksonville, look, a lot of expectations on this team, but those could very easily come back down to earth with that O-line. On the surface, you know, Walker Little at left tackle. It looks like Anton Harrison at right tackle. We're still waiting word from the NFL exactly how long the Cam Robinson suspension will be. Does it give you any pause, any trepidation about the Jaguars with some uncertainty there at the tackle spot?
Yeah, I think of the concerns that I have for the Jags, I think it's the inconsistency on the defensive side of the ball that we saw last year and then the offensive line as a whole. Even if Cam Robinson's healthy, I think he's just okay at left tackle. I don't think he's ever been nearly as good as maybe what the hype was coming out of Alabama. And Walker Little, haven't seen enough from him as a fill-in at this point to say, yeah, let's roll with Walker Little as the left tackle as long as Cam Robinson's out. You know, he could be good, but we just haven't seen it yet. Anton Harrison, the first-round pick, I liked where they got him late first round. I think he's going to be a good pass protector, but if he ends up playing right tackle and, you know, there's a bit of an adjustment there coming from the left side, and I'd say he's a better pass protector than run blocker. But, you know, so there are questions at tackle, and I think they're just okay on the interior with their guards and center. So, you know, Brandon Scherf coming off of a down year relative to what we've expected from him. So, yeah, I would say of all the concerns that the Jags might have, it's the offensive line and maybe a little bit of their offensive line depth. So, yeah, you don't have to be great on the offensive line in the NFL. You just have to be mid-tier, average, and I think that's where the Jags' ceiling might be this season.
Steve, you mentioned the defense. There's no question if the O-line performs to an average level, they're going to score some points offensively. Do the Jaguars have enough on defense to be one of the top contenders in the AFC?
Yeah, I mean, defense is always difficult to predict. It's just the nature of the NFL. You see this all the time. Great defenses don't look great the next year. So predicting who the best defenses are is always challenging. But I love the pieces that the Jags have. I love all the athleticism that they have from a pass rush standpoint. They need Trayvon Walker to look like a number 1 overall pick. There's still a lot of development needed there. I think Josh Allen's ready, to continue to improve and become a star. So there were games last year where you said, man, look how athletic this defense is. They're flying around. They're young. There's a ton of upside there, but the consistency just was not there from the defensive front or on the back end. So I think all the pieces are there. Again, they don't have to be a top 5 defense. I don't think they just have to have games where they're keeping them in it and trusting their offense to put points on the board. So I think they got the pieces. They've got a lot of youth. It's going to be a consistency issue, and then guys like Trayvon Walker really stepping up. Devin Lloyd, right? Both of last year's first rounders. They showed flashes last year. You need much more consistent play from those 2 players and a few others, and then Jags defense is looking much better this year.
Couple of more for Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. He's here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Steve, the changing of the guard really is what we saw in the AFC South on draft weekend. 3 brand new rookie quarterbacks all taken in the top 35 spots. We'll begin in Houston. C.J. Stroud looks like he's going to be the opening day starter for the Texans. What do you make of the Texans, and can they compete in 2023?
Look, I think the Texans are much better than they have been. I thought they spent a couple of years just spinning their wheels, not necessarily adding big-name players, and now we see a power move going to get Will Anderson at number 3 in the draft to complement C.J. Stroud, who they got at number 2. So I think the Texans will be much better. They've added enough pieces where their starting lineup looks a lot better. I don't know if they have the depth, but I think the Texans are going to be much more competitive. I think Stroud, as long as the O-line holds up, he's going to hit his open throws. He'll hit his throws. He is accurate. So I think the Texans are going to be much improved this year. I don't know if Stroud's the guy I want to build around necessarily going forward, but I think he's a guy that can win some games on a rookie contract and take advantage when they have good playmakers around him. And I think the Texans are on their way to supporting him better than they have, say, in recent years.
The Jaguars see the Colts twice in the first 6 games, which is interesting because you really wonder, will it be Anthony Richardson or potentially former Jaguar Gardner Minshew, especially on opening day when the Jaguars are up in Indy in week number 1. So your thoughts on Anthony Richardson? And Steve, the Colts have a lot of talent, clearly, with Leonard and Buckner and Pittman and Taylor. We know all the guys, but, man, a lot of questions at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, Colts are interesting because if they stay healthy, on paper they should be much better than they were last year, but they were rough last season, especially on the offensive line. And then the Anthony Richardson question, it's a great one. I mean, I think, the biggest home run potential in the draft. We'll see if he ever gets to that point or just how raw he is right off the bat as far as his accuracy goes. But if the Colts tap into Anthony Richardson's rushing ability, I think that raises the floor of that offense. I think Anthony Richardson can be a 1,000-yard runner at the quarterback position if the Colts choose to go that route, and that just buys him some time to develop as a passer. So I think the Colts will have a pretty good offense, even if Richardson is inconsistent as he was in Florida. Just inconsistent with his accuracy, just hitting the throws that he needs to hit. But with Richardson and Jonathan Taylor back there and an offensive line that should be better, I expect the Colts to be much more competitive. And again, if they stay healthy with a lot of the players you mentioned on defense, Shaquille Leonard and Forrest Buckner, Kwity Paye heading into year 3 here, the Colts should be a good competitive team. But it'll all depend on Anthony Richardson, how effective he is in the pass game and how much they lean into his running ability, which I do think will open a lot of things up for that offense.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony Richardson just needs to play, Steve. I mean, you're talking less than 900 pass attempts in his football career between high school and college. He just needs to get out there and play to see what you got. Finally, in Nashville, look, interesting offseason, right? I mean, they let a lot of veterans go, that they added some guys that maybe weren't starting other places that need a chance to start, so I get that. But I'm shocked that it appears to be Ryan Tannehill still the guy there, potentially especially when they drafted Will Levis high in the 2nd round. I mean, what do you make out of what they're doing in Nashville right now with the Titans?
Yeah, it definitely felt like it was going to be a full rebuild there, and I think they're going with the phrase a lot of teams are using now, the competitive rebuilds, where Rand Carthon comes in as the new GM, and you get rid of a bunch of the old contracts. There's some big names, but you're getting younger and trying to just get fresh blood in there, I guess, on both sides of the ball for Tennessee. The thing I think that can keep them together though is Mike Vrabel. He is a very good head coach. Just 2 years ago, they had a bunch of what looked like a no-name defense that was really competitive and led them to the number 1 seed. So It's too early to write off the Titans, but yeah, you've had a lot of talent out the door the last couple days. But Tannehill's still a very good quarterback. The playmaker situation, very questionable. So I don't know how effective they'll be offensively, but I think they'll be competitive on the defensive side of the ball. And it does look like a transition season for Tennessee, where they'll be competitive. I don't see them competing for the AFC South, but maybe a year from now, if they get an influx of talent, they're going to be dangerous. But it definitely looks like the Titans have taken a step back this year compared to where they were the last couple seasons.
Final moment, Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. Steve, not to get too far ahead of the story, but something would have to go terribly wrong, right, for the Jaguars to not win this division?
Yeah, I mean, with two other rookie quarterbacks in Tennessee, as I just mentioned, I think taking a step back, and who knows if Will Levis ends up seeing the field early. Yeah, the Jags should absolutely be the favorite. You know, we don't want to completely overrate just a half season of play, but the Jags they're getting better, right? And it all starts with having Trevor Lawrence. And if he takes that step where at the end of the season you're saying, hey, Trevor Lawrence is right there in the conversation with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes might be in his own conversation, but still, hey, he's the top 3 or 4 quarterback in the AFC, and we've seen that consistency, then yeah, the Jags absolutely should be the team to beat in the South.
Steve, as we say goodbye, look, I don't think the Jaguars are as good as Kansas City and Cincinnati. I'm not breaking any news there, but what I do believe is the schedule is easier for them. They get all their tough games basically at home or at a neutral site, and the North, the West, the East, there's going to be some attrition, man. They're going to be eating each other in those divisions. So almost by default of the schedule, I wonder if Jacksonville doesn't maybe fall into a 2 or even a 3 seed there in the playoffs.
I think for the second year in a row, that's the story of the AFC. Now, last year at this time, we thought the West was a little bit stronger than they showed. But again, part of that is you are going to beat each other up. And the AFC looks absolutely loaded once again, especially if the quarterbacks stay healthy. It's going to be extremely competitive. The South is absolutely the easiest division in the AFC, but the East looks loaded, the West looks really competitive, and the North looks really competitive. So I'm with you. I do think the Jags have a golden opportunity there to snatch a home game and really compete for playoff seeding, just because, yeah, the rest of the AFC is absolutely loaded, especially at the quarterback position where they're not dealing with, say, the 2 rookies like the Jags are, or the transition that Tennessee's going through.
Less than 6 weeks before training camps open all over the National Football League. Steve, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what's coming up on Pro Football Focus there at PFF.com.
Well, I always suggest everybody to go check out the PFF NFL podcast. My podcast partner, Sam Monson, and I always breaking down the NFL all the way throughout the offseason, and then PFF.com, all sorts of offseason ranking lists and getting everybody ready for fantasy. The season is right around the corner already.
Steve, you're the man. Know you're very busy. We certainly appreciate the time, brother. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, a U.S. Open update on 1010XL. Brought to you by Mr. Sparky of the First Coast and MyBookie.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 123rd U.S. Open Championship, sponsored by Prevagen. Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele say hello to the lowest score ever posted at a U.S. Open, 62, 8 under par. Fowler not surprised based on the layout at Los Angeles Country Club.
I knew there's birdies to be made out here, but you have to drive it well and get the ball in position first. So, yeah, we did that, and from there just managed our way around really well.
Fowler made 10 birdies, 2 bogeys today. Schauffele bogey-free, 8 birdies on his way to 62, both tying the scoring record at a major in the same day. Can anyone catch them today? Well, Rory McIlroy opens a major with back-to-back birdies for the first time in his career. He's 2 under through 4, 6 back. Reigning PGA champion Brooks Koepka bogeys the first and the fourth. He's 2 over, 10 back. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
Remembering great moments in golf history, sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. 2013 Marion Golf Club in suburban Philadelphia. Justin Rose became the first Englishman to win a major in 17 years. Rose's winning score of 1 over par punctuated his steady play, finishing with 0 double bogeys for the week. Jason Day and Phil Mickelson finished tied for second, and for Phil it was a record 6th runner-up finish at the U.S. Open. With this great moment in golf history, I'm Kevin Kugler.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. so you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's gonna fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Here's Linda Beaver.
We know that you have options when it comes to buying or servicing your vehicle. We also know that not all experiences are created equal. We promise when you choose to do business with Beaver, you will always get a genuine smile when you arrive, commitment to what you need to accomplish with your purchase or service, and lifelong relationships with a team that cares. Pair all that with a huge selection of inventory. You can't go wrong with Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. We promise we're here to wow ya.
Come to Bowden Eye for all your eye care needs. Hicken here. Did you know that dry eye disease affects up to 60 million Americans? Dry eye disease is known to progress. Dry eye disease is one of the most common but least diagnosed eye conditions doctors see in their patients. Many of us who have dry eye may not even feel it. At Bowden Eye and Associates, visit today for your personal consultation, keeping the First Coast focused. Bowden Eye and Associates, new location now open off County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay and Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Hacker here for the Sausage Dudes. Look, you know I'm a sausage guy. And the Sausage Dudes, Paul and Patrick, make some of the best sausage I've ever tasted. Their high-quality pork and spices separate the Sausage Dudes from the pack. Try their 4 flavors, including Italian, Polish, Hungarian, and beer bratwurst today by picking them up at any Publix in the Jacksonville area. The 4th of July is right around the corner. So head to Publix now to get your hands on the Sausage Dude sausage, the sausage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 15, 1980, at the U.S. Open, Jack Nicklaus sets new tournament scoring record 8 under to win his 4th Open title.
Hey, it's Tony from Tony D's Pizza. If you love our pizza and pasta dishes, let us cater an event for you. Family function or office parties, we can deliver you an amazing Italian meal. Remember, it's not just pizza at Tony D's. Bay Meadows in $2.95.
When it comes to selling your home, wouldn't you have more promises than problems? That's where Chad and Sandy step in. They guarantee to buy your home. If it's not sold on your agreed-upon date and deadline, they will buy it. That's why we're recommending Chad and Sandy Newman. Perhaps you're worried about settling for less money with a low-ball instant offer. That's not a problem because I got a promise. Chad and Sandy, the only real estate experts you can trust to this. Your home will be sold at that agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Lynn in Orange Park said, I wanted to move to be closer to family. I heard about Chad and Sandy's success and guarantee on the radio. I hired them. They couldn't have been more pleasant. They delivered as promised. My home sold above list in 3 days. How do you get this? Well, call the only agents I'm trusting and recommending. Call Chad and Sandy at 904-414-6200 or go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com.
Hey, Jay, can you finish that induction range installation tomorrow?
Orders have really amped up at Nate's Electric.
We need to finish installing it first in Maine. Did we hear back from the grocery chain?
It's no shock he needs electricians, like yesterday.
Smart fridge. Everybody wants one of those these days.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions
After my
apply.
surgery, my knee was back in shape after only a few months. I trusted Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with my daughter's back surgery as well. Both of us are great, and we're doing exactly what we love to do. This is David Lane, and I seriously recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for any orthopedic issue.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. Our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists is ready to help you too. We'd like to thank the coaches and schools who trust in our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter, is looking for experienced and dependable HVAC services technicians to join our growing team. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is committed to delivering the highest level of service to our customers. Successful candidates will be hardworking, dependable, possess strong problem-solving skills with at least 2 years of HVAC experience. Ready to get to work? Please visit our website at duckduckac.com and click on the careers page. We look forward to hearing from you. That's duckduckac.com.
Duck Duck AC is an equal opportunity employer. Keep your ball out of the rough with the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Get great golf tips from the experts every Saturday morning at 10. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour on 1010XL. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Early edition Hacker After Dark. In for vacationing Rick Ballou. Glad you're with us. 1010XL 92.5 FM. Well, primetime golf tonight, right? The U.S. Open. A lot of guys only about halfway through their rounds right now out in Los Angeles. So we'll go probably another good 3-4 hours of first-round coverage of the U.S. Open. How about Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele? Good grief. 62, 8 under rounds for both Fowler and Schauffele. They are 4 clear of the field. Wyndham Clark, raise your hand if you had Wyndham Clark coming into the U.S. Open this week. He's at 4 under, although he's only through 9 holes of play. And then you got the likes of Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, both with 3 under rounds of 67. I'm old enough to remember when the U.S. Open was supposed to be hard, right? 2 62s today for Fowler and Schauffele. So we'll see what happens, but unbelievably impressive by those two guys in round number 1. We have U.S. Open leaderboard updates coming up here, going up until at least 8 o'clock tonight on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We'll wrap up our NFC North preview in less than 10 minutes. We've already been to Detroit. We've been to Green Bay. We've been to Minneapolis. Tonight we'll end in the Windy City of Chicago. Check in on Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. A lot of people with the money the Bears spent. Justin Fields now getting a better understanding of what's going on. Second year with a head coach, second year with a coordinator. Think the Bears potentially could be this year's Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know about that, but we will talk to Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. He's coming up in less than 15 minutes. Speaking of the Jaguars, the offseason has come to an end. Minicamp ended yesterday. OTAs ended last week. And we will not see the Jaguars again until July 21st when players start coming back for training camp. We are 58 days away from the Jaguars preseason opener against the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that would then make us 89 days away from today, or roughly 89 days away from the regular season opener against the Indianapolis Colts. All right, so the offseason was an interesting one, right? Jawan Taylor gone, Chris Manhertz gone, Arden Key gone, Marvin Jones gone. Those are probably the big 4 that the Jaguars lost, although only one of those guys was a quote-unquote starter, which was Jawan Taylor. The Jaguars will return 21 of the 22 players that started that AFC divisional playoff against the Kansas City Chiefs. You add Calvin Ridley to that mix. You bring Ben Barch back off of injury. Cam Robinson, we'll see about the suspension. I cannot believe it's June the 15th and we still don't know how long Cam Robinson's suspension is going to be. But I think this Jaguar football team, certainly not any worse. I think if anything, they're better than they were when they walked off the field in Kansas City. Again, are you questioning the offensive line a little bit? Yeah, you are, but I would remind you guys 12 months ago, if you were to rewind the clock back to June 15th of 2022, there were legit questions about Jawan Taylor 12 months ago. Remember, he was going to battle with Walker Little for right tackle. We didn't know who was going to win that job. And then Jawan Taylor comes in, has his best year as a pro, and he leaves and gets $20 million a year in Kansas City. But it wasn't as if going in to the 2022 season, Jawan Taylor was highly thought of here by the Jaguars, fan base, media, etc. Now, he certainly played very well, had the best year of his career, and got rewarded for that with a big contract. So even though there are certainly questions surrounding Walker Little, surrounding Anton Harrison, we'll see what happens when Cam Robinson returns. There were definitely questions coming into 2022 along the offensive line. Defensively, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens at affecting the opposing quarterback. That is the one position I have concerns with. Josh Allen, the team leader in sacks, is back with 7 from a year ago. Arden Key is gone. DeJuan Smoot is gone. Trayvon Walker is still here. He only had 3.5 sacks. If there is one position that concerns me coming into the year, it's the edge rush opposing the getting to the opposing quarterback. I think that is a situation the Jaguars did not address in the offseason. I'd still like him to sign a Justin Houston, a Jadeveon Clowney, maybe an Ngakoue, although the report is Ngakoue wants like $8 to $10 million a year. Ngakoue's not getting $8 to $10 million a year. I'd be shocked if he got that. There are still some veterans available. If it were me, I would bring one of those veterans in, although to the point the Jaguars have had that opportunity for months now, they have not. They must like their in-house guys maybe a little more than we do outside TIAA Bank Field. More on the Jaguars coming up, but let's wrap up our NFC North preview. Again, we've already been to Detroit, to Green Bay, and to Minneapolis. Tonight, let's end in Chicago. Patrick Finley, Chicago Sun-Times. What about Justin Fields? What about DJ Moore, wide receiver 1 in Chicago? Can the Bears compete for that division with Aaron Rodgers no longer in the North? Let's talk Bears football. Bears preview. Patrick Finley next on Hacker After Dark.
Now a U.S. Open update on 1010XL. Brought to you by Mr. Sparky of the First Coast and MyBookie.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 123rd U.S. Open Championship, sponsored by Grainger. With supplies and solutions for every industry, the right product for you. Click Grainger.com or just stop by. A pair of 62s and a pair of aces highlighting a wild first round at Los Angeles Country Club, hosting its first ever major. This morning, Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele, a couple of Southern California natives, fired the first 62s in U.S. Open history, 8 under par. They're 4 shots clear of the field. Matthew Pavon from France and Sam Burns from Shreveport, Louisiana, both made hole-in-one at the 15th. Burns 3 under through 7. Pavon finished with a 1 over 71. Wyndham Clark is 4 under, making the turn. He's 4 back. Clark started with an eagle. Brian Harmon also 4 under. He's through 7. Rory McIlroy 3 under through 6. That's 5 back. Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau also 3 under. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
Anywhere fans go to cheer on their team, there are behind-the-scenes MVPs, ensuring everything is game day ready. We see you, Joe, fixing seats so every fan can enjoy every game. And Allie, who keeps her stadium running smoothly from the moment the first game starts to the last play of the season. At Grainger, you're our MVPs, and we're always here for you, with supplies and solutions for every industry and 24/7 customer support. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
I was on the go, it was time to eat. I said, baby, grandma, Danny, 'cause they can't be beat. She got something else when it was time to choose. And after just one bite, I got that soggy sandwich blue. Should've known better, only Danny will do. Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you, yeah.
Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars. Make them your AC partner. With honest cost estimates before they start the work with no hidden fees. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
Men, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE? The medical providers at Prime Men's Medical Center offer breakthrough treatments that eliminate problems in the bedroom without pain or surgery. 98% of men see instant results on their first office visit. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Men are even lasting 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
But that's not all. For a limited time only, call Prime Men's Medical Center now, and your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. You'll see instant results right in the office. You'll even get a gift that enhances your performance in the bedroom. All this, worth hundreds of dollars, is free if you call now. 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
You will love your new custom windows and doors from Renewal by Anderson. For a limited time, get 20% off windows, patio doors, and installation. Plus, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. Enjoy the beauty and quality that only Renewal by Anderson offers. This offer expires June 30th and restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com.
License number CGC 1527613.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
888-8 Sparky.
Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can now do it in less than a week. Hey, it's Prosser here, and that's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, or even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. And you don't even have to touch your primary mortgage, so you can keep that 3% rate intact. Just get the money you need and pay off all those credit cards, or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
It's time to fire up the grill. Houston's Meat Specials of the Week. 10 pounds of fresh jumbo chicken wings, only $12.95. 2-pack pork spare ribs, only $1.99 a pound. And whole T-bone steaks at $5.95 a pound. Only at Houston's Meats, Main Street and 295.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as we wrap up our NFC North preview right now. We've already been to Minneapolis. We've been to Detroit. We've been to Green Bay. Right now it's all about the Windy City and the Chicago Bears. Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Patrick, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Hey, Patrick, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, you can't start a conversation about the Bears without jumping right in to Justin Fields. Patrick, you cover this team every day. From where Fields was in June of 22 to where he is in June of 23, how much of a difference is there?
A big difference, and that's not because of anything he's doing on a backfield. I don't pretend that throwing against your teammates wearing shorts matters a whole heck of a lot. But, what he has is a offensive coordinator who is the same guy for the second year in a row. That hadn't happened to him in the last 3 years. He had 3 coordinators in 3 seasons. He has got much better players around him. You look at DJ Moore, who they acquired in the trade for the number 1 overall pick. You look at Chase Claypool, who was really bad last year after the Bears traded for him. But you presume that he's going to be better. They even got Robert Tonyan, the old Packers tight end, to help Cole Kmet at that position. And then the Bears drafted and signed a couple of guys who hopefully can block for him a little bit, because that was the case last year. He's got a much more well-rounded cast around him on the offensive side of the football. And then the continuity from knowing this offense and knowing what it can do can only help him.
We obviously saw the transformation in Trevor Lawrence last year, so we know how easily a guy can go from, maybe average, below average, to being one of the elites in the league. When you talk about Justin Fields, what did you see from him last year, Patrick? I mean, we saw the great runs, but as far as throwing the football, how do you assess last year?
It wasn't good. To be honest, and part of that was, like I said, they couldn't block for him. You look at the percentage of times that he was sacked on dropbacks. It was the most in like the last 10 years in the NFL. And I think number 2 was Justin Fields the year before, something like that, when you sort for 300 pass attempts or something like that statistically. It was a bad passing attack. And, some of that was what was around him, and some of that was Justin. The hope is that he can be more confident. The hope is that he can be more in rhythm when he throws. And the hope is that he doesn't have to run for 1,000 yards again. Justin has said that out loud. So is Matt Eberflus, the coach here. They don't want him doing what he did on the ground last year, this year, because that will mean that the offense on the passing side is bad enough that it necessitates that. Now, whether he can make that jump like Trevor did, I don't know. I think there are a lot of people around the league who just think that Trevor's just a more natural passer anyway. But if he can just, get up to about a league average when it comes to completion percentage, when it comes to third down percentage, and when it comes to passing yards, you combine that with the athleticism that he has and with the rushing attack that was one of the best in the league last year, and you probably have got something. Now, the real interesting part about Justin is at the end of this season, just like with Trevor, the Bears, could, if they wanted to, extend his contract. And given the contracts we've seen for quarterbacks around the league, that's going to be a ton of money. So he needs to prove to them one way or the other whether he is the guy this year. And that's what makes this season so utterly important for the Chicago Bears.
Our NFC North preview continues. Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Patrick, down here a year ago, we saw what bringing in guys like Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones could do for Trevor Lawrence. You mentioned DJ Moore. He was part of that blockbuster trade that Carolina made with Chicago for the number 1 pick in the draft. He is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. There's no question about that. What is the expectation for DJ Moore up there?
To be a number 1 receiver and to be the guy that Justin looks to when he gets in trouble. He really hasn't had somebody like that. And by having DJ Moore there at the number 1, you can now have Darnell Mooney at 2 and Chase Claypool at 3. And all of a sudden, that looks like a pretty good wide receiver core. Some of the guys that they had last year, whether it was Byron Pringle, whether it was N'Keal Harry, these are guys who played a lot of snaps for the Bears, and they're unemployed still. I mean, that shows you what the league thought of the Bears receiver room last year. So hopefully DJ Moore gives Justin that security blanket, and then kind of everybody else slots in behind him. I'll tell you this, and this speaks to how bad the Bears have been when it comes to passing, since the dawn of time. DJ Moore already has more receiving yards than the Bears' all-time leader in receiving yards. That is crazy. He's been in the league for 5 years. And if those 5 years had been wearing blue and orange, he would be the greatest receiver in Chicago Bears history.
That is absolutely wild. Out of curiosity, who is the Bears' all-time leading receiver?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now. Harlan Hill, I believe.
Wow.
Well, how about this? And this, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer, which is crazy because I think the Houston Texans, who haven't been around that long, have got like 4. And Eric Kramer is their all-time leading passer, if you can believe that. Eric Kramer.
That is absolutely wild. Well, certainly things are on the way up, it appears, in Chicago. Again, Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. Patrick, to me, the Bears' offseason in 23 was much like the Jaguars' offseason in 22. Jaguars had a ton of money to spend. They spent it, and it obviously paid unbelievable dividends last year. Chicago, very similar, had a lot of money to spend, and they certainly went out and got some good players in free agency.
They did. Tremaine Edmonds and T.J. Edwards were their big defensive ads. Those are guys who are off-the-ball linebackers. If you look around the league does not pay for off-the-ball linebackers very well. But the Bears decided that they were difference makers at that position. I would posit that maybe the one difference would be, with Christian Kirk, they gave a lot of money to him, and I know some people around the league wondered whether that was an overpay. The Bears really didn't go over the top with anybody. I know Bears fans who were hoping that they would have, whether it was playing the left tackle or a defensive tackle or an edge rusher. If you look at their edge rushers right now, it's the worst. It's the worst group in the league by a pretty good margin. So I think the Bears wish that they would have had a 2023 offseason like the Jaguars' 2022 offseason. But you're right, they did add significant pieces on the offensive side with the goal of making their quarterback comfortable and effective. And we'll see whether they can be as successful as Jacksonville was. Lord knows by the end of the playoffs last year, I don't think anybody wanted to play the Jaguars.
And there's a lot of excitement down here in Jacksonville, as you can imagine. You did bring in a Jacksonville high school project, and DeMarcus Walker, who's made a nice career for himself in the National Football League. What are DeMarcus Walker's prospects heading into Chicago here in 2023?
He's going to be interesting. He's a defensive end, but I think on passing downs, they'll kick him inside. He'll be part of their NASCAR package or whatever you want to call, the pass rush package on their team. So he's interesting. He had, I believe, 7 sacks last year. There's a violence to him that the Bears really like and that they think that they were lacking last season. So that'll work. And also, I wouldn't be surprised, here in the next, whatever it is, 6-7 weeks before camp starts, I think you're going to see one of those veteran defensive ends that are still out there on the market join the Bears. There's just way too much opportunity to be had here. And, like you said, the Bears have got plenty of money. So I think they will bring in a veteran, perhaps just for those specific pass rushing situations. But they really do need one, even with DeMarcus in the fold.
A couple of more for Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. Patrick, I asked our guys this in Detroit and Minneapolis. I'll ask you the same question, and it might mean more to you than it meant to them. Is the weight off the Chicago Bears' shoulders now that Aaron Rodgers is no longer in that division?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the Bears, as you and I sit here right now, the Bears might have the better quarterback between them and the Packers. And, last time we were able to say that, I was maybe 7 years old. So, yes. Yeah, the weight is off of them a little bit, getting Aaron out of there. I'm sure you know the stat, but Aaron, beat the Bears. I think it was 26-4 or something like that all time against the Bears. He absolutely dominated the rivalry, even when he wasn't his vintage self, like last year. So yeah, they're thrilled to have him out of the division. I don't know about Jordan Love. Maybe Jordan Love's the next great Packers quarterback, but I don't think any of us has seen anything that would lead us to believe that, short of just blind faith. So going into the season opener is going to be Packers. And I think if you're the Bears, you'd rather have your quarterback than their quarterback.
What about the division? I mean, you look on paper, Minnesota's the defending champion, although they lost some guys to attrition. Everybody loves Detroit. People think Green Bay's rebuilding. Chicago appears to be the arrow pointing up. I mean, how would you assess where we are now in the North coming into this year?
I think the Bears are probably last in the division still. I mean, it's just so hard. When you've won 3 games the previous season, I think an acceptable leap is somewhere going from 3-7, 3-8, something like that, maybe 3-9 if you're really lucky. And I don't think any of that is enough to win the division. You know, the Vikings, like you said, their record was great, but if you look at their plus minus and you look at all of the outlying statistics, they just appeared to get really, really lucky last year. Now, the Bears would kill to get that kind of lucky every once in a while, so I don't want to demean it, but there's reason to think that they're in for a little bit of a crash back to earth. And, you know, the Lions, I've been doing this long enough to not trust anything good about the Lions, just because they're typically just historically bad. But I think it's impossible to look at the rosters and not think that the Lions have the best team on paper right now. And, you know, as for the Packers, you know, I guess that there's a world where, you know, the Packers can run the football really well, play some good defense, and the quarterback can, you know, not make mistakes. And, you know, that would land them at the top of the division. We'll see whether that happens. But right now, as amazing as it sounds, that, you know, the Lions are the odds-on favorite. And, you know, if I had to pick a team right now, I think it'd be the Lions as well.
Final moments here with Chicago Sun-Times, Patrick Finley on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Patrick, two final questions. Number one, quickly, I was surprised David Montgomery left in free agency. Did Chicago not try to re-sign him? What was the story there?
No, they actually did. They offered him what they thought was enough to beat the other offer, and David decided to go to Detroit. He said afterwards that all this losing was really weighing on him, so maybe he decided to go with ride the better horse.
Yeah,
there.
Wait a minute. All the losing's wearing on him, so he goes to Detroit. That's interesting.
Well, and then Detroit drafts running back in the first round. So whatever they promised David, I'm sure it wasn't, hey, we're going to go draft somebody who plays your position in a month. So I think he'll be a part of a good platoon there. But boy, he was really the heart and soul of this team. You know, you ask anybody from coaches to executives to players, and the physicality that he ran with was really emblematic of what the Bears wanted to do and kind of the will that they wanted to impose on other people. So they've replaced him with Donta Foreman, you know, drafted Roschon Johnson, who was the backup running back for the Texas Longhorns, and they've got Khalil Herbert coming back. They're going to go three-headed monster there. But, yeah, they wanted David back, and they were a little surprised that he went with the Lions instead.
Certainly a lot of Chicago fans here in the Jacksonville area. Patrick does a podcast. I want to promote that as well. Before we get there, I'm asking you to go back in the memory banks a little bit. I was shocked that this has been 20 years ago, so I don't know how much you know about it, but I'm sure it's been in conversation. So the story here in Jacksonville is the stadium hopefully is going to get renovated. If it gets to that point, the Jaguars got to find a place to play, and they're talking about playing in a college stadium about 90 minutes down the road there at the University of Florida or even at Daytona International Speedway. And to me, the benchmark for this is Chicago, because in 2002, when Soldier Field underwent the renovations, the Bears played at the University of Illinois, which I believe is like 2 hours, right, away from Chicago.
Farther than that.
Is it farther than that? Okay. So if you can remember that, you know, again, 20 years, I don't mean to put you on the spot here. How did that work for the Bears? Was it seamless? Were there issues there? And for the fans to travel that far?
The Bears, you know, did what they did, or what they do even now. You know, they trained in Lake Forest, which is a northern suburb here, and then on Saturday nights they'd go down to Champaign. Fans didn't like it just because it was quite a haul. But, you know, it was only for a year, and then they were back in Soldier Field. Now, the interesting thing about this, and maybe the cautionary tale about this, is the Bears are doing their damnedest now to try and move somewhere else besides Soldier Field. So that big renovation 20 years ago only bought them 20 years of happiness, and now they might move to the suburbs here. So, you know, it was a necessary evil, but I don't think a single person actually enjoyed the act of it unless you lived in Champaign, Illinois.
They're trying to move away from Soldier Field. That would be somewhat shocking, would it not? I mean, I thought the Bears were going to play there forever.
They bought a plot of land in Arlington Heights, which was an old racetrack. They paid $192 million for it. It's 326 acres. And they are focused on building a stadium there. Now, they're having some property tax issues with that site right now, so they're actually listening to some other municipalities around town, you know, in terms of who could host them. But yeah, if I had to bet, 10 years from now, I don't think they're playing at Soldier Field. I think they're probably in the suburbs somewhere, and that would be very different. Wow. Now imagine this: it'll be, you know, I mean, it'll be a dome stadium in the suburb too, which would be real different than everything we've known about the Chicago Bears and kind of the mentality of the Bears for the last 100+ years.
Yeah, that would be very, very interesting. All right, Patrick, Chicago Sun-Times is where people can read you, but you also have a podcast the Bears fans can tune into.
Yeah, Halas Intrigue, Halas spelled like George Halas, and Intrigue like the phrase Palace Intrigue. You can find that wherever you get your podcast. We break down everything that's going on with the Bears a couple times a week, whereas news warrants, and we will be doing something this week off of mandatory minicamp, which is going for 3 days. So give that a listen and check us out at suntimes.com.
He is our guy up in Chicago, Patrick Finley with the Chicago Sun-Times. Patrick, enjoyed the conversation, man. Thank you. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Jacksonville's home for Florida Gators baseball.
The Gators make their move for another title tomorrow night in Omaha. Number 2, Florida. Number 7, Virginia. Friday at 7 on 1010 a.m.
Tired of the same old places for happy hour? Downtown's best is at Bellwether. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 because why not? For all you late-nighters, Bellwether offers nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 9 to 11. Want a snack with your cocktail? Bellwether has a unique bar food spread. And guess what? All metered parking is free after 6 and weekends. That's Bellwether Downtown.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative, with answers to the questions I'm asked the most. Yes, we are local, and no, I'm not hiring an actor to read these commercials. Check us out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
The 5-Star Veterans Center of Jacksonville is the place homeless veterans can go to recover, recharge, retrain, and reconnect. Learn more at 5starveteranscenter.org.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com. It's kind of like his own private locker, and you're his guest.
Every time we talk, I'm reinvigorated by my love of the game.
Hayes Carline here. Find my blog at 1010XL.com.
Hayes Blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing, where quality and experience count.
I'm Jeff Middlecoff with Trustline Mortgage. My business partners, Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been helping clients all over Florida with their construction perm loans for 34 years. Construction perm loans are not easy to find because a lot of banks and credit unions don't understand them, and therefore they don't like to do them. Well, your problem is solved. Trustline Mortgage wants to help you build your dream home. Our construction perm loans are single close, so you save money by not having to close twice, like with other lenders. Some of our construction perm loans allow you to lock in your interest rate up front. And if interest rates go down, we'll give you the better rate. We offer up to 100% VA loans, up to 96.5% for FHA loans, and up to 95% for conventional loans. Call Trustline Mortgage today at 381-LOAN. That's 381-LOAN to find out how we can help you build your dream home. Or visit our website at trustlinemortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing lender. MLS number 331480. When looking for a firearm, you want knowledge of product, a fair price, and of course, a quick process. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach is always stocked with brand new firearms and the quickest in and out times this side of the ditch. BeachesJewelryandPawn.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
Well, Jacksonville, as we turn the TV on in hopes of hearing something positive, we're hit with another mass shooting or murder on the local level. It seems to never end. We pray, we fast, and any number of other things. We do have to understand, as James said in the Bible, paraphrasing, prayer without works is dead. We as a community have got to get active to remove these individuals from our streets. How do we do that? Glad you asked. You can become a member of Mad Dash by calling 904-718-1649. We will train you on how to go to the streets to remove the individuals responsible for the crime from the community. We've got to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. For information about Mad Dash, go to Mad Dash Jacksonville chapter Facebook or madd-jacksonville.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Boys, some low scores coming in at the U.S. Open. We're going to give you some U.S. Open leaderboard updates here up until 8 o'clock. But Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele, both 8 under rounds of 62. You got Brian Harman coming in now 5 under through 8. Rory McIlroy 5 under through 8. Good grief. I'm old enough to remember when the U.S. Open was supposed to be hard. These guys are absolutely carving it up right now. It'll be fun to watch a little primetime golf, of course, out in Los Angeles. You got a handful of guys aren't even through half of their first round yet. So we will certainly keep you updated. Coming up next, Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com. We are at the 70-game mark already for a lot of teams around Major League Baseball. Heck, the All-Star break is inside of a month away. Tampa and Atlanta still find themselves in first place in their respective divisions, but certainly a lot going on around the big leagues. Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com, talking Major League Baseball. He's coming up next. Hacker After Dark, in for Baloo on a Thursday night in Jacksonville, Florida with Dylan Denmark. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Now a U.S. Open update on 1010XL. Brought to you by Mr. Sparky of the First Coast and MyBookie.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 123rd U.S. Open Championship, sponsored by Prevagen. The top-ranked player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, was solid to start his week in Los Angeles. He signed for a 3 under 67.
Got lucky, made a really long putt, hit some really nice iron shots in from distance, so it's kind of a mixed bag. I think the only place where you're able to kind of get away with a few mishits would be off the tee, honestly, and coming into greens, you need to be pretty clean. So when I wasn't, I was able to still make birdie because I made some long putts. So probably try and clean that up as the days go on.
Scheffler looking up at Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele, who both shot the lowest score in the history of the U.S. Open, 62, and they did it 20 minutes apart, both 8 under. Rory McIlroy with a birdie at the par 5-8. He is now 5 under through 8 holes. He and Brian Harman both at -5 and 3 back. Wyndham Clark at 4 under, 4 off the pace. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
Robert is a real Prevagen user and content contributor.
I am Robert Strickler. My wife Joyce and I have been married for 53 years. Certainly one of the really important things in my life are our children and our grandchildren. I am essentially a writer. I've been involved in communications in the media. I've been an avid fly fisherman for at least 40 or more years. I've been taking Prevagen for at least 8 years. For me, the greatest benefit over the years has been that Prevagen seems to help me recall things and also think more clearly, have a crisper ability to remember and think through things. And I enthusiastically recommend Prevagen. It has helped me an awful lot.
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life. Prevagen is available in stores everywhere. Based on a clinical study of subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired, this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
David Garrard here. Once again, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has eased my knee pain with PRP treatment. PRP is a platelet-rich plasma concentrate that promotes tissue repair naturally. If you are dealing with pain or an injury, ask your doctor or Southeast Orthopedic Specialist about PRP to determine if it's right for you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Josie for the Jacksonville Eye Center. If you're thinking about LASIK and finally seeing 20/20 without glasses or contacts, now's the time to do it. Jack's Eye Center and Dr. Robert Snipper, experts in eye care with the latest technology. Dr. Snipper uses the Allegretta Wave and blade-free interlace technology. And with it, Dr. Snipper has earned a prestigious reputation for his success in LASIK. You need to call 355-5555 right now and make an appointment to see Dr. Snipper or log on to drsnipper.com.
Household names and bucket list courses. For the lead! Yes, indeed! Coverage of the U.S. Open on 1010XL is presented by Mr. Sparky of the First Coast and MyBookie. Unreal!
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. These intense summer storms are a good reminder to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Check out Pella's new Hurricane Shield and Defender series. These amazing windows exceed all coastal requirements for storm protection. Seriously, they can withstand the impact of a 2x4 shot out of a cannon at 50 feet per second. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
I want my Woody's barbecue.
Hello, barbecue lovers and sports fans alike. High-flying Jack O'Brien here with a big hi, how are you? You know, I've been recently boning up on writing radio copy. And today, we'll be executing the subliminal advertising approach. Here we go. Woody's. Woody's. Woody's Barbecue.
At Woody's Barbecue, it's what we do.
Let's eat.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it, they do it. Whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/movingforward.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter, is looking for experienced and dependable HVAC services technicians to join our growing team. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is committed to delivering the highest level of service to our customers. Successful candidates will be hardworking, dependable, possess strong problem-solving skills with at least 2 years of HVAC experience. Ready to get to work? Please visit our website at duckduckac.com and click on the careers page. We look forward to hearing from you. That's duckduckac.com.
Duck Duck AC is an equal opportunity employer.
It's time to fire up the grill. Houston's Meat Specials of the Week. 10 pounds of fresh jumbo chicken wings, only $12.95. 2-pack pork spare ribs, only $1.99 a pound. And whole T-bone steaks at $5.95 a pound. Only at Houston's Meats, Main Street and 295. Men suffering from ED or PE, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. For a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. You'll even get a gift that enhances performance in the bedroom. Call 904-664-8217.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Boy, the 70-game mark is approaching. For most Major League Baseball clubs, we are getting awfully close to the halfway point of the regular season, if you can believe that. Certainly a lot is going on with Tampa, Atlanta, and really all over Major League Baseball. For the very latest, Matt Snyder, you catch him at CBSSports.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Matt, how you doing?
I'm great. You know, it's we're really into the dog days of summer once like NBA and NHL just got over with. Now baseball's kind of got a little bit of time here on its own to hopefully impress the masses, especially now that we have the pitch clock.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. And to that point, yeah, because you piqued my interest there. Normally, this is the time of year, truthfully, Matt, where I get more into baseball. I've been locked in, though, with these new rules. I told you this the last time we talked about a month ago, that I'm watching more baseball now than I have since I was a kid. But now that basketball is over and hockey's over and baseball is the only show in town, you got to think that these new rules are going to attract more fans, more viewers.
Hopefully. I think that's the goal, is that the diehard fans didn't really have a problem for the most part with the pace of play. But you already have the diehards. It's about attracting casual sports fans and then keeping them as a fan base instead of hemorrhaging them, which I think we probably had been for several years. And they didn't do themselves any favors during the COVID shutdown when baseball could have been the only sport, and it took them forever to try to negotiate. By the time they came back, other sports were coming back. So this is right now is the time to kind of, go with the old strike while the iron's hot thing. I think we have a really, really good product right now, and a lot of people are going to see it and hopefully recognize that and keep coming back.
Yeah, I certainly love it, no question. And, boy, there was an interesting scene earlier this week out in Oakland, California. I was watching the Rays, who, Oakland all of a sudden can't lose, right? At the time you and I are talking, they're on a pretty nice winning streak. But, boy, earlier this week, the fans in Oakland, who we all know are probably going to lose that team to Las Vegas. In fact, the state of Nevada just approved, I think, like a $380 million bill to build a stadium there in Vegas. Yet it was almost a reverse boycott is what they were calling it.
Yeah, they called it a reverse boycott.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, what did you make of what happened out in Oakland earlier this week? That was some scene.
I think their hearts are in the right place, the fans. You're losing a team, and for so many diehard fans, it's a beloved team. It was one of the best franchises in baseball in the 70s and even into the late 80s with the Bash Brothers and Ricky Henderson there and Dennis Eckersley at closer. Like, that was an iconic team from when I was growing up, and it just seems wrong that they're not going to be the Oakland A's anymore. Of course, I mean, baseball historians know it was the Philadelphia A's and the Kansas City A's, then the Oakland A's. Like, they can't stay put. But like I said, I think their heart is in the right place. They're trying to show we love this team. We hate what you're doing to this team. But at the end of the day, the owner just doesn't care about the fans at all. And all you're doing is filling a ballpark that in the end benefits him. So it almost seems in that way counterproductive. I understand a large amount was given to charity or something, which is great. It just doesn't seem like the right way to kind of jab at the owner, because ultimately you're still spending money to go to his ballpark,
Well, it was something. I mean, the fans were wearing shirts that say "Sell the team." They're chanting "Sell the team." They did a thing in the fifth inning where nobody made a noise for like the first two outs. I mean, it was very, very well organized. At the end of the day, though, it's a done deal, right? I mean, they're moving to Las Vegas.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a done deal. They're moving. There's going to be logistics and hoops to jump through and everything, but they're going. And I did want to point out on that, of all the things they did, one of my favorites was there was a picture of, if you remember the movie Major League, the owner, Rachel Phelps, who wanted to move the team. I've been calling the owner John Fisher. I've been calling him Rachel Phelps the last 2 years. So I like to think maybe I had a hand in it, but probably not. But remember that every time we win, we peel a section thing in the locker room. Somebody did that, but with John Fisher's face on the thing. So I thought that was pretty funny.
No, that's good. That's good. And yeah, Oakland's all of a sudden, they were terrible. I mean, awful. Their record is still awful, but they're all of a sudden playing decent baseball. Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com, here with us. That brings me to Tampa. Is this their first reality check of the year? I mean, it's been high times for the Rays. All of a sudden, They head out to California to play the lowly Athletics, and things haven't gone well. Is this their first bit of adversity, I guess, this year, Matt?
Probably. I mean, they've lost some series, but to lose a series to a team that at least a week ago was on pace to be maybe the worst team in baseball history, that's probably the low point of the season. But hey, I mean, the Pirates were in first place when the A's took 2 or 3 from them. The Brewers were in first place when the A's swept them. So they just got on this weird kind of funky run right now. But yeah, I do think it has to qualify as a low point for the Rays. But you know what? Still the best record in baseball. They just won a series over the Rangers, who are the second best team in baseball. So they're fine. I mean, you're never going to go through a full season without hitting some kind of adversity. Even the best regular season team we've seen in a long, long time was last year's Dodgers, who won 111 games, and they went through some low points, and heck, they didn't even get out of the NLDS. So yeah, you're always going to face adversity. One of the things I often say about baseball is you have to be, well, in any professional sport, you have to be so incredibly mentally tough just to get to that level. But the thing about baseball is to play 162 games, you're going to, at some point, the losses are going to pile up. And you have to be able to bounce back from those. And you don't even usually get a day to lick your wounds. It's usually, but the flip side of that is you have the opportunity to go out and get a win and erase the memory of that bad memory. Whereas, you know, in the NFL or something, you've got a whole week, or if there's a bye, maybe 2 weeks to stew over a loss. In baseball, it's kind of both sides of the coin. You know, you play so many games, you're going to face a lot of adversity, but you have the opportunity the next day to go out and erase that bad memory.
Look, and I'm not saying home field doesn't matter in Major League Baseball. It certainly does. I mean, heck, the dimensions of the parks are different. It might mean more in that regard than any other sport. But, boy, for Tampa, Matt, it does mean a lot, man. They look like a different team at Tropicana Field than when they're playing elsewhere.
I've long thought that it meant less than, like, the other major pro sports. Like, in football, it seems like it's a big, big deal with a crowd. In basketball, I think a crowd can swing things during big runs and everything. In baseball, it's always fun to have those atmospheres, but I feel like it matters, but I just feel like it matters less than those other major sports. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when teams get like this, it kind of takes on a life of its own. Like, so much of the game is mental. And I think when the Rays play at home, they have that mindset where we know we're going to win. And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, I know we're going to win, but sometimes they don't always feel it deep inside. I think the Rays, every single time they take the field in the Trop, they know they're going to win.
Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com. Unfortunately for Tampa, it's still the best record in baseball, but the Baltimore Orioles have decided not to lose. Baltimore, I think, has the third best record in baseball.
Yep.
Now, Tampa's still 4 games up at the time you and I are speaking, but good grief. If not for the Rays, the Orioles might be the biggest story out there right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and the Yankees and Blue Jays aren't even that far out. Like, it's just the AL East is amazing. And, yeah, I do. The Orioles, I thought, and I'm gonna be accountable here. I'm going to hold myself to account. Heading into the year, I thought that the Orioles had a really, really exciting group of position players, but their front office didn't do enough for them in the rotation for them to really be this good heading into the year. Now, I still think the rotation is a weak spot, and it needs to be addressed in front of the trade deadline, but I was wrong. I did not think they were going to be this good, and they're all kinds of fun. Adley Rutschman might already be an MVP candidate. And look, Gunnar Henderson, a lot of people predicted to be the Rookie of the Year heading into the year. He's only 21. He was drafted out of high school the same year that Adley Rutschman was taken number 1 overall. He had a rough first couple months, but here in June, he is absolutely scorching the ball, and that just makes him that much scarier to have a talent like that finally see it start to click at the big league level.
You know, you take the Rangers and I guess the Astros, although the Astros all of a sudden have injury problems. Other than those two, is there anybody outside the AL East that you think has a shot at this thing come, October, November?
Oh, yeah. The Astros for sure. They've been through a lot so far this year with injuries, and they're continuing to go through it with Yordan Alvarez out, I would guess, around 6 weeks. But if they are hitting their stride when they get to the postseason, they just won it last year. They were in the World Series the last 2 years. They absolutely could make a deep run and could be repeat champions. The Rangers, we'll see how they are when they get to the postseason. I thought heading into the year that they could be a really terrible team or win the World Series just because there was so much variance in the rotation with so many injury-prone pitchers, but when they're on, they're among the best in baseball. And they've been playing like that, but Jacob deGrom is out for the season. And I kind of felt like a deep postseason run was predicated on him being the ace at the top there. That's about it, though. I don't think anybody else is capable of a deep run outside the AL East, no.
Yeah, if I'm Toronto or Boston, I'm looking at the AL Central like, are you kidding me? We would be in, first place there right now, and we're 11, 12 games out in the AL East. A couple of more from Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com. Matt, to the National League we go. The Atlanta Braves still find themselves atop the NL East, but tightening a little bit, right? They don't have the lead that they had a month ago. Is that a lack of, good wins by the Braves? Is that the Miami Marlins hitting their stride? What do you think's the reasoning for that?
Ebbs and flows of a season. Sometimes you're going to have natural ups and downs, but also like Max Fried and Kyle Wright being hurt in the rotation is a big deal, and it's tough for them. They keep bringing up all these young arms, and they have a lot of talent, but there's a reason you need that depth, and it's because you lost your big guns. They will get Fried and Wright back eventually in the second half, and the good thing is, as opposed to last season when they weren't very good for the first 2 months before they really got hot, they've built up enough credit that they can kind of withstand these injuries until they can kind of hit their stride again down the stretch. So I wouldn't be worried about the Marlins at all. I would have thought heading into the year maybe they would have to worry about the Phillies and Mets more, but the Mets are a total mess, and the Phillies did not spot themselves a good start, so they're still trying to dig out of that hole. So I think – I'm trying to think of around the 6 divisions. Yeah, I think the Braves are the easiest pick to win their division in baseball. Because even with the Rays, they've got to deal with the Orioles and the Jays and the Yankees. And in the West, you would have thought the Astros heading in the year, but they're behind the Rangers. And in the NL West, you might have thought maybe Dodgers, maybe Padres, but the Diamondbacks are in first. So, yeah, I think the easiest bet on the board is Braves.
Not to spend too much time on the Marlins, but I be honest with you, I didn't expect much from them at all this year. To their credit, I mean, here we are 65, 70 games in. They've surpassed a lot of expectations. Why do you think nobody gives them a shot? Well, what is the issue with that?
Well, part of it is they just don't have that big of a fan base, and they haven't been relevant too often other than those 2 World Series titles. They basically never make the playoffs other than that. One thing that a lot of people look at is stuff like run differential in one run record. They're 17-5 in one-run games, and most people would say that'll tend to even out over the course of 162. And then they have a negative run differential, so people would say it suggests that there's a correction coming. I would say back to that, I think it shows that they know how to win those games, and they're going to be even more confident anytime the game is close that they're going to get the job done. So maybe it's something that can be sustained. But I think part of that, those 2 things are probably the biggest reasons why. Also, their offense just doesn't seem that good. So it's probably another where you look at them and you go, this is smoke and mirrors. They're going to come back to earth.
Things have a way of changing pretty quick. When you and I talk a month from now, it might be a completely different narrative.
Absolutely.
But other than the Braves, give me 2 or 3 teams in the National League that you expect good things out of over the next, say, 30 to 60 days.
I still am holding out that the Padres are going to get scorching hot at some point. They just have too much talent there. Manny Machado is having the worst year of his career, and he's too good for that to happen at age 30. We've seen what Juan Soto can do when he's really on. We've seen what Fernando Tatis Jr. can do when he's really on, which means Xander Bogaerts is their 4th best player, and Jake Cronenworth's their 5th best player. They're just too good for this to keep happening, and their pitching has been fine. It's been their offense that has been terrible, and I just think over the course of 162, those guys are going to be too good. They're eventually going to get scorching hot. So I'm still counting on the Padres. If you wanted another one, maybe a long shot. I was looking at the NL Central today, and it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Like, the Pirates are in first place, and they're not very good. The Brewers just can't be counted on. I kind of feel like the Reds might be a fun story in the second half with all their young talent, especially Ellie De La Cruz, who just came up. He's must-watch TV. Kind of feel like maybe the Reds could be a little sneaky sleeper there that could win that division. Of course, it might only take like 83 or 84 wins, and they would probably get bounced easily in the first round, but it would be a great story if they won the division.
You and I will talk again before the trade deadline. It's still a little ways off. Having said that, it's not that far down the road. I know all the talk will be about Ohtani. We'll see how the Angels do over the next month or so. Other than Ohtani, which is certainly the big one, Is there another name or two that, casual baseball fans need to keep their eye on, a big name that might be on the move?
There's still so much that needs to be sorted out, and the Centrals are so bad. There aren't that many more names out there right now. Like, I was thinking about Eduardo Rodriguez from the Tigers, who was in the Red Sox rotation for several years, so a lot of people would know him just from having been in the Red Sox rotation. I feel like he's a very good trade candidate, but the Tigers are only 5.5 games out in the Central right now, so it's so bad I don't think they could justify selling. Just to flip over to the NL Central side, another Marcus Stroman. I think a lot of people know who Marcus Stroman is. Pitching, he's having his best year of his career with the Cubs. He really wants to stay, but it sounds like the front office won't engage him on extension talks. He could be on the move, but again, the Cubs are only 5.5 games out in the Central, so you really can't justify to your fan base that you're selling there. So we need a lot to get sorted out, basically.
Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com. Matt, what's coming up on CBS Sports over the next couple of days and weeks?
Oh, I mean, right now, the same old coverage. Our prospects writer, RJ Anderson, has just really ramped up his coverage of the draft because that's coming soon. It's All-Star Weekend. And I guess, All-Star Weekend is not that far away. We're only less than a month now. So you've got the draft, the futures game, home run derby on that Monday, and then the All-Star game on Tuesday. Home run derby, I think, is must-watch TV now that they have a clock on there. It makes it so much more exciting. So we will cover the hell out of all that stuff. And in fact, on this coming Monday, I am going to do who my ideal home run derby field will be.
Matt, always enjoy the conversation. Know you're very busy this time of year, brother. Thank you. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Sounds good.
And thank you to Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Hard to believe the Major League Baseball season approaching the 70-game mark. For some teams, we are less than a month away from the All-Star break. Both Tampa Bay and Atlanta still in first place in their respective divisions, although you are starting to see some teams close the gap a little bit. Baltimore, certainly in the American League East. The Miami Marlins won't go away either in the National League East. Again, thank you to Matt Snyder for joining us here this evening. Well, that'll just about wrap it up for what has been a very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. In for Baloo this week. We got a lot of people to thank tonight. Matt Snyder of CBS Sports talking Major League Baseball. Thank you to Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times as we wrapped up our NFC North preview this week. We've already been to Detroit, Green Bay, Minneapolis. Tonight we ended it in Chicago with high expectations for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears entering 2023. So again, thank you to Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. And back in hour number one, my friend Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. You guys know I love PFF.com. Steve is one of their main guys over there. Really enjoyed talking Jaguars, AFC South, and more with Steve Palazzolo of Pro Football Focus. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Friday, and we will close out the week here on Hacker After Dark. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night on a Friday, beginning at 6 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Update on 1010XL, brought to you by Mr. Sparky of the First Coast and MyBookie.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 123rd U.S. Open Championship, sponsored by Dell. At Dell Technologies, we push what technology can do. Find out how at Dell.com/welcome to now. Los Angeles Country Club has been just about defenseless today in the first round. Soft greens after a morning mist, plus no wind. Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele, both with plenty of top tens at majors without a victory, made U.S. Open history, shooting 62, the lowest score ever recorded at this championship. And they might not be the only ones. Brian Harman is 6 under through 10. He's 2 back. Rory McIlroy, 5 under, making the turn. It's his best ever opening 9-hole score to Florida major. Wyndham Clark is 5 under through 12, 3 back like Rory. Brooks Koepka trying to get the engine to turn over. Birdies at 8 and 9. He's 1 over, 9 back. I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.